I'll start with this one because I thought it was the best page. However, I did feel like there's a lot of visual competition taking place here. There's a big image here. There's this thing moving around. There's this thing moving around here. Then you've got quite a bit of text here. Then the colors as well are quite powerful and strong as well. And then I can see the second fold as well. There's a lot. It's too heavy on the eye. And this kind of goes back to my, point that if I feel I have to put, the more effort I think I have to put in, the less likely I am to read your content or skip over it or go back. So there's an inverse correlation there, right? And this is a point I've emphasized a lot. A better example I would say is probably this one here. This for me is a lot cleaner. There's a lot less text. Yes, there's a visual on the right-hand side, but this is fixed and it's easier for me to engage with. And similarly, if you look at the second section here, this is neat, it's crisp, it's more billboard orientated, and that is how most of our content should be. Of course, you can go deeper into things, but the core messages initially should be in this style, because I'll read these, I'll engage these, I'll understand something, and that's likely to get me to that slippery slide of reading deeper content if something here catches my eye and I think, yeah. So if I don't read in the first place, it doesn't matter how good your content is, right? So if you give me bite-sized content initially, clean, visually appealing, the noise is really dialed down, it's easy for me to just scan and absorb, then I might get into the more deeper things, because I've seen a value proposition here, or I've seen my goal is being achieved here. I can see, oh yeah, am I an entrepreneur that has these problems? Yeah, I am. So okay, now you've kind of got my attention. So I'd say this is a very nice, crisp, easy on the eye first section. So try to go with that style. You can dial it down, I would say. Now, anyway, when we get into it, see, this is good. This is a lot cleaner. Although there's a fair bit of text here, I feel I can scan it a lot more easily. The presentation's lighter on the eye. So sometimes, team, look, this is another really important point. It's not always about how much content there is. It's about how, how distracting the section is. There's a lot more content here, but I find that this second section is easier to engage with than this first section, where my eyes kind of moving around all over the place. So you can kind of take the analogy of eye tracking, right? Like if we had eye tracking glasses right now, I if I was a betting person, I'd be pretty confident that here my eyes are kind of scanning all over the place, instead of here they're just reading it, breaking it down for you. What do you get in a free trial? And I just have to look at these cues, which are really nice signposts for me, sub-signposts, you could say. Handpick your triple vested resource, keep all the work is yours, stringent data security free. Wow, I've kind of learned a lot there. I haven't put any effort in, and I'm kind of intrigued now. And I don't even need to read this content here, because I can kind of take a pretty good guess at what you're going to say. But if I do want to learn more, then like let's say data security is top of mind for me. It's a really important point. I can go and read and say, oh, actually you are ISO certified, and etc., etc., etc. So I can get into the nitty gritty of a while. But whereas we say keep all the work, it's yours, I can kind of logically assume that the intellectual property is going to stay with me. But if I want to double check that, I can read the content now. So this is a good section. I like it. It's simple. It's easy. It's, again, all those good ingredients, simple, easy. The design is not overwhelming. And for that reason, I think this works pretty well. Even when I just looked at these headlines, a part of my eye got a glimpse of this ISO. And without reading it, my brain's already kind of jumped to the conclusion that you must have some accreditations. I've seen some kind of numbers, and what do we normally associate numbers with when it comes to data security? It's typically ISO or some type of accreditation, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm in a rush and I don't want to read this, but I'm getting an implicit sense of authority, or rather confidence, or compliance is probably the better word. And so this is the pragmatic reality of how we actually engage with content, right? Is that I'm getting a feeling, it's eliciting a feeling, because my eyes scanned a bit of this, I can see certified somewhere there, and I'm getting a sense of, hey, you're not just saying you follow stringent data security measures, you actually back it up. So what we really have to, get in tune with is how are people really engaging with content. And when you understand that, you understand why sections like this work, because I'll go boom, boom, boom. my eyes will pick up a very little bit of the content in these sections. Like my eye will pick up intellectual property and certified, and that is increasing the confidence levels as for the reader without me reading. And so hence why, you'll start habitually creating more sections like this rather than maybe sections like this, where there's, again, it's quite heavy on the eye. It's just I have to work a lot harder, because although the content might be better, I'm more like, once your brain gets on that wavelength, that the reader's actually going to take more away from a section like this, and that even this content here, without me reading it, can increase my confidence levels, because there is a bit of residue, right? The brain picks up a lot more than we are consciously aware of. So the unconscious mind is seeing some of these words and phrases, picking out some of them, and unconsciously my confidence, I'm getting a feeling, a sentiment. My brain can nicely go through it all, and it will pick up a little bit in the background as well. So my absorption rate is very high. I use that word absorption rate. How much am I actually taking in? Well, actually, the absorption rate is very high, because actually I've only read a little bit, but I've actually learnt a lot. And because it's not distracting, because my eye's not pinging all over the place, because my brain's not working trying to break this section down, it's able to pick up on some of these, because the eye is taking in a lot more than we're consciously aware of. Now, you can drill this down even further. Like, here's a mistake you've made. I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure you've made a mistake here. Is I would make this the higher part and this the smaller part, because the brain naturally gravitates to this one, but we read from the left. So this should be higher, this should be lower. Little things like that, they create friction and distraction and competition, right? So the more you can streamline, the simpler, the neater, the more you can make it like a billboard, the far likelier I am to learn, to read, to engage, and get into that slippery slide effect.